Welcome back to Emerald and Lilywhite. This is the big one. This is the one we've been excited for a couple of weeks now over here at Seattle Spurs. It is our 2024-25 preseason podcast. And what more can you say? It's a chance for us to, as Spurs fans, enjoy these moments where we think we might win something, right? The things usually turn on us, but for these first couple weeks leading up to the Premier League season, there is no better time to be a Spurs fan because you have hope and you have belief that anything could happen. So we're here to talk about everything, but before we get into that, want to just make sure that we take a second to introduce the pod and the panel today. We are a larger group than what is typically Max and I, as we welcome in key members of the Seattle Spurs board and close circle, again, to talk about the season, not only for Tottenham, but for Seattle Spurs. Start with my good friend Steve. Steve is the OG of Seattle Spurs, the number one. He has been there since the moment of the inception. And all jokes aside, not only a great friend of mine and a great person, but somebody who works super hard to keep Seattle Spurs going and everything that it is. So I'll introduce, again, my good friend Steve Smiley at on Instagram, Seattle_Spurs.
Yep.
If you want to interact with him. But Steve, what's up, man? So good to hear from you and see you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I've been looking all forward to this since we first decided to do it.
Yep. Yeah. Well, again, it's an honor to have you. Like I said, you are everything that is Seattle Spurs and make sure that we're functioning and rolling at all times. So we appreciate you. But yeah, awesome to have you here. Real
quick, if I could just also plug just for future reference for everyone who's joining us tonight. We watched the Wits End and also at over here in Seattle, and then our other location is down in Puyallup at Cascades. We got a group going there, so we try to get the expanse of the Puget Sound as best as we can. And we always, open to everybody come on down and watch us. Both places are kid friendly and dog friendly, I believe, for the most part. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Well, so the Wits End at the Wits End Bar on Twitter if you're interested, and then Cascades and Puyallup, like Steve said, at Cascades. That's CASKCADES again on Twitter. Go ahead and follow and like and subscribe to their content as well. Yep. These are close partners to the organization here, the OSC at Seattle Spurs, and we certainly wouldn't be who we are without those two organizations. So we want to make sure that they get a lot of love and credit. Thank you. Welcome in Keagan quickly. Keagan, another key member of Seattle Spurs, has written some content for Emerald and Lilywhite, so you may recognize the name Keagan McMurray at Keagan McMurray. Keagan, what's up, man?
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Yeah, really happy to have you here as well. And like I said, you've provided some wonderful content through the interwebs for those Seattle Spurs and Spurs folks out there. And yeah, glad to have you on the podcast. Want to welcome in Alex after Keagan, Alex Chang, another close member of Seattle Spurs. At Alex Chang is at Instagram, I believe. What's up, man? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Great to be here. Excited to talk about why Romero's the best center back in the world. But
Let's go. No argument for me.
Yeah,
that might be the quickest podcast in the world. Romero's the best. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful day.
See you season.
Yeah. No, I love it. Good to have you, Alex. And then last but not least, my co-host, the one who's behind the scenes with me, Max. What's up, man?
Sup? I'm pumped for this episode. Got the big man Steve here, and then my boys Alex and Keagan, and it's definitely going to be an exciting one. So yeah, I'm excited for the season, excited for the episode as well.
No doubt. Yeah, let's jump into it. Let's go. We don't want to make people listen to pleasantries for too long. I want to talk about Yves Bissouma. It's been a doozy from the number 6 that we would assume is starting next week, but probably no longer is. Reports, and I'm not a direct red hot source, right? I'm just a person on Twitter who does a podcast, but my understanding is that Yves Bissouma was filmed over social media inhaling something that you shouldn't be inhaling. That's the extent of what I understand. I don't even know the specifics of what he was inhaling, but not a great look for our number 6. And Max, I know he's your boy, man, so I'm going to come straight to you. What's your take on this whole deal?
Yeah, so this is probably like one of the dumbest things that I've ever seen a Spurs player do, especially in the setting that we are now in the stage of the season that we are. So yeah, we finished preseason friendlies yesterday, and then today you're not only inhaling laughing gas or whatever it may be, that's definitely illegal in the UK to do. You're also posting it on social media, which I can't even fathom how someone could be that dumb, especially someone who I personally thought would be starting at the 6 in a week's time. So clearly that's not happening. We got to pivot. Luckily, we have plenty of midfield options, but this is another example of his stupidity that oftentimes comes on and off the pitch, and it's just been consistent theme. And at this point, it's affecting his career. So that's my take on it. I'm very disappointed, to say the least. It's just very stupid.
Yeah, I agree. Alex, do you think he starts next week? Is he in jeopardy? What do you think there?
I think like gives me shades of when Dele Alli actually got his sex tape leaked a little bit, but
Yeah,
obviously extremely stupid thing to do. Well, I mean, I wouldn't be mad if I saw Archie Gray starting in the 6th there. I know he likes to play there. I know like Andrew seems to trust him. He's been getting a lot of minutes in preseason. So I wouldn't be too mad. I'm actually not the biggest Yves Bissouma fan myself. I think he's pretty lazy. Never seen that man sprint ever. So I'd love to see Archie Gray there, honestly. And I think if this is what opens the door for him, then it's all right with me.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Max knows this, but I'm also not a huge Yves Bissouma fan myself. So I tend to agree and feel everything you're saying. There's other guys too, Steve. We think about Archie Gray, and I think Alex is correct that Archie Gray looks to be ready to have an opportunity there. But there's also a guy like Bentaker that can play the 6, right? And maybe we get a look at him. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely have options going forward to it, but I would be really surprised if he gets some playing time next week because of what happened.
Yeah,
it just sets a bad. It means it goes without saying, it's just a bad precedent. Like, I mean, it's just stupid. He's can't say he's not allowed to have fun, but come on, man, keep it off the social media. Is like take it edible. I don't know, do something.
Yeah, I like that. No, I agree with you, and and kind of like Max was saying too, just don't post it, right? And at the very least, but I agree with you. I think we've got plenty of options. I also agree with you that Ange Postecoglou is not somebody who's going to show favorably in this situation and just brush it off and start him next week. I think the rest of the squad has to see what the severe punishment is for making that type of decision. And it sounds like we're talking about like a high school team, which is unfortunate. Yeah. Unfortunately, kind of what everybody's been getting at, right? It's just a bad deal. Keagan, before we move on to more positive news in the Spurs community, when it comes to Bissouma, I mean, do you think he recovers from this and has an okay season? Do you think this impacts him maybe more because of the guy that Ange Postecoglou seems to be? What do you think the bigger picture here is?
Yeah, it's tough. I don't think I have a ton to add. I would say like he seems to just have had a career of ups and downs so far at Spurs, and the wave of social media. Another thing will come up in a month or two from now. I think a lot of people have forgotten about this, but I hope that Bentancur starts actually next week. I thought that he had a good cameo against Bayern. And I think he'd bring a calmness to the 6 that we need in the first game of the season. But I think that within a couple months from now, we'll have hopefully moved past it again. It's just so stupid. But yeah. I think that he's enough ability to still revive his Spurs career after this for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I tend to agree with you too. No reason to think that it's over. But yeah, like I said, more positive stuff to talk about. And I'm not even going to ask anyone anything specifically, but I'm going to say that Spurs have officially signed Dominic Solanke, as we all know. Massive signing yesterday. Max and I were just about to record actually during the friendly when everything had come out, or at least I had caught up with the fact that the deal was done. So a fun day yesterday, but what will be eventually, as Max pointed out yesterday, after some stipulations, Spurs record signing at $65 million. I believe it's up to 65, like you said, but a massive statement from the club. So yeah, I'm gonna just throw it out there. Dominic Solanke, what do you guys think?
I think it's actually like a pretty big I wouldn't say statement signing quite yet, but I think it does show intent. Get another 9 in here, especially even with Richarlison rejecting like Saudi rumors the other day. To see that we're keeping both Richarlison and we're still signing a 9, I think it's a good move. Especially because like it's Daniel Levy, he could easily say like, "Oh, Richarlison's not leaving. We're just gonna stick with what we got." But I think I'm excited to see what he does for us. 21 goals last season for a Bournemouth side that only scored 54. Um, should be exciting. Should be a lot of goals. Yeah.
Do you guys think Richarlison might be gone in January? I mean, or not?
No, I think he's staying. Yeah, he seems like he really likes it here. So that's
Yeah,
what
definitely,
I got at least. So
Yeah.
I think he's staying. I doubt we cash in. If he was to go, I think it would be more of a situation where the first half of the season did not go as planned. So
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing with that signing for me is that all the reports are that it was Ange's top target, and like that's an intent to that shows to me like signs of intent to back this manager. And I just think he like fits the system to a T. He just is an unbelievable presser. He just keeps things simple when he's on the ball, and he can drop deep. But he also just an awesome like penalty box finisher. He scored the most headed goals in the Prem last season. So yeah, I just think he fits the system really well, and the fact that he's Ange's top target speaks loads to me.
Yeah, I completely agree. Max and I have talked about this, but 3 players scored more goals than him last year in the Premier League, and that's Isak, who is fantastic and probably priced at $100 million and doesn't really fit the system necessarily. I think he could, but he's not perfect. Then you've got Cole Palmer, who scored probably 19 penalties, right, and a couple goals from open play.
yeah,
And
couple
then you've got
deflections.
Erling Haaland. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not going to say anything about Erling Haaland, right? But those are the 3 guys that have scored more goals in the Premier League last season than Spurs' new striker. So yeah, Max, you and I already kind of know your answer here. We've talked about it, but seems like one that could really push us to that next level we're looking to get to under Ange, especially considering how badly we've needed someone at the 9.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think he improves our first 11 straight away, and that's all you can really ask for from a signing, along with the fact that Ange clearly wants him at the club. And yeah, he was level on goals with Ollie Watkins last year. So just to throw out Ollie Watkins, like that's a guy that made an impact in the Euros. And for those saying that, oh, Solanke couldn't get into the Euros side, it was a shock that he wasn't invited to the training camp. And I think that would have been a little bit of a different story, as he did have a better season than Ivan Toney, who I'm personally a big fan of as well. But I'm really just excited to see what he does this year. And I reckon he will come up later in these predictions for some of us as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And well said. Steve, you think there's any competition from Richarlison for Solanke? I mean, is there a world where Richarlison gets more minutes than him?
I think.
What do you think?
I think this could be like a natural play between the two. Like obviously, I think each has their own strengths. I mean, Solanke I haven't seen enough. Obviously, we all know about Richarlison's capabilities, but I think it'll naturally come out. It'll probably be beneficial to both, and the fact that gives us like depth. So as we get, so we have Europa League coming up, so it gives us that depth, so we can alternate between both guys as they come through. So I think it'll be good. It's exciting.
I like all that. You guys ever think that Ange would use 2 strikers? I'm not saying like straightforwardly, but at certain points in matches, be interesting to see those 2 who I think have somewhat different profiles. I see Solanke as being much more capable of being involved in the build-up and helping, just from a creative aspect in general, but very comfortable with the ball at his feet in the box, most importantly, and being patient, I think, where Richarlison is just, he can finish. And that's what he does. I don't want the ball at his feet really ever, right? So they're different profiles, but is there a world where they're both on the field?
I can see possibility. Depends, you know.
Yeah.
Not for me, probably.
No.
I would shy away from that. Yeah, I don't think that would be good.
Yeah.
I could see like really hunting for a goal like down the stretch or something.
Oh yeah, like yeah,
90th minute where you throw like Richarlison on because you just need somebody in the box who's
late in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
we'll
if
do
we
that.
do end up going with that, that likely means we're playing some sort of like 3 in the back or 4-4-2, which would just not make sense for how Ange wants.
No. He's historically used a back three like intermittently, but I
But
don't
that's
see
like
any
the pet
reason
back
for
three.
that.
It's not like the
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah,
With like
yeah.
a box in the midfield.
Yeah, which I think we actually could do because of how good Christian Romero is. But hey,
Yeah, for sure. I know, right? Alex probably agrees.
yeah, I mean Alex knows. Yeah.
I'll support it till the day I die.
Let's go. He's incredible. All right, yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about preseason briefly, and Keagan, I'll go to you quick. But what's your general take on preseason? If you could sum it up into just a couple of thoughts, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think I've always kind of viewed preseason as just like an opportunity to get the young guys some minutes, build some chemistry, get new signings some minutes. But I think like Ange said, like he really focused a lot on training during those times and really hard, intense training. And I think that showed, especially kind of in the later stages of preseason. Like they just looked a little bit tired by the time they got out onto the pitch. And so I don't have like a ton of takeaways because of that. But I think it was still a good time. And I think you saw some defensive frailties, obviously, with the lack of Mickey and Romero and Destiny as well. But other than that, like not a ton of takeaways, just some good time to get some minutes in the legs and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, Alex, I know you're a Romero guy. I think about Romero, Van de Ven, and Udogie, like Keagan just said. Our back line was typically Archie Gray, Skip, and Jamie Donnelly, which will not be our back line this year very often, I can imagine. So I think, from a defensive standpoint, it's hard to take really anything away from preseason. But when I look at guys like Jamie Donnelly, for example, albeit maybe not from the fullback position, and I look at guys like Lancashire and Mikey Moore and even Hall, it looks like, again, it's preseason, pump the brakes. But my question for you, Alex, is it looks like we really may have some guys that can stand out and take this club forward over the next 4 to 5 years if we do things right. You feel the same?
Oh yeah, for sure. I will admit I haven't been like the biggest preseason watcher. Actually, I haven't caught any of the games, but like what I've seen, the clips I've seen, I think especially Ange seems to trust Will Lancashire a lot. It looks like he might stay with us this season, which shows that he's like above the pecking order of like Aleo Valise, who still hasn't really done anything for us. Like he had a really terrible loan last year. He's going to Espanyol this year. Like we'll see how many minutes he gets. But even like Dane Scarlett, I mean, his progression has just halted so fast. Like I think even Will Lancashire is definitely above the pecking order for him. I mean, we've seen what Mikey Moore can do. He's like been a good technician out wide, And Jamie Donnelly, I heard he's like having some promising stints at left back. I know he's like naturally a more central player, so I think him inverting is probably pretty natural for him. And then we have some young guys like Archie Gray. I really like Lucas Bergvall. I think that if we play our cards right, like we're definitely building for the next 5 years.
Yeah, agreed. I'm glad you shout out Bergvall. He's been phenomenal. Honestly, one of the best players I think throughout the preseason. Yeah, Steve, what do you think is the biggest, or who is the biggest would you say for the preseason and what you got to see of it?
The biggest one. Sorry, you cut out.
Biggest standout. Sorry, yeah. Who's the biggest standout for you?
I'm kind of like Alex's too. I've seen some of the clips. I have not been able to. I mean, obviously today I wanted to watch the whole Bayern or yesterday, but I was traveling and do my thing. But like, I don't know. I feel it's any friendly we do is a great chance for us to to test ourselves and see what potential is, especially guys who don't normally play. It's a great way to get those guys out and forward and doing that. But the clip that I brought up his name earlier before we jumped on the recording, but was Pedro Porro's bomber that he did. I want to see more of that. Yeah, I want to see more of that. And I think that's where, if anything, it's not to say players wise. I keep going back to Ange, his style and what he's capable of bringing. It's like, some people are harping about how we lost to Bayern Munich, but it's like, come on, it's like we can beat them. It's not like we couldn't, but it's just like, we're still growing. So that's kind of my overall gist of what I've seen so far from some of these friendlies, especially from the clips.
Yeah, I love it. I'm glad you brought up Pedro Porro, because I think for as good as Jed Spence has been, we haven't talked a whole lot about that, right? But Jed Spence was pretty fantastic, and for as good as he was, Pedro Porro was even that much better. And I think Pedro seems to be well aware that there's somebody in his position who's playing really well, and I think he's popped up with some really, really strong performances because of that. I think Pedro Porro is one of the best right backs in the league, and I've said it before, but last season I called for him to be the disappointment of the season, which is one of our categories for later in the show. And I probably should not be allowed to talk about Spurs on social media anymore after that prediction, because that guy's phenomenal. But Max, what's your biggest takeaway, man? It could be a player, could be something that stood out to you, but if you're Ans, what's the one thing you're building around from this preseason?
Yeah, so like we mentioned before, it's the youth, and all of them showed us a lot. And one of the ones that we haven't mentioned is Alfie Devine, who I thought was absolutely fantastic. So I just want to shout out Alfie Devine, because he came into this preseason and they're like, oh, okay, Devine's back, highly touted prospect, blah, blah, blah. Had a couple of okay loans in the past couple seasons, but he looked very comfortable out there in all the minutes that he got. Unfortunately, we did not get to see him yesterday against Bayern, but I thought he did play well against Bayern last weekend, and I hope he gets a decent loan this year, because he looks like a really promising player. And for how much we've been hyping up the Donley, Mikey Moore, Lancashire, because those are the guys that are like involved right now, Alfie Devine looks right up there with him, and that was not something I was anticipating going into the preseason. So shout out to him. And then my other two standouts were Kulusevski. I thought he had a great preseason, especially amidst like trying to figure out where he fits in the squad. He just continued to perform at the striker position, actually. And then Lucas Bergvall, which I'm sure we'll get to in just a second. At least I will. So, yeah.
Yeah, well said. I think Kulusevski is a great shout. He's like a headache for Ange in a couple different ways right now. On one hand, you can't figure out where to play him because he doesn't quite fit the system, but he's extremely talented. And then on the other hand, you put him at the number 9 or 10 or whatever hybrid 9-10 we want to call it, right? That he seems to play. Been phenomenal. And then you just brought in this striker in Dom Solanke, and you've got Richarlison around, but Kulusevski's putting the ball in the back of the net quite efficiently. So super good problems to have. But yeah, more to come for sure with Kulusevski and all things Tottenham. And yeah, I think if we're talking about Solanke, I think we're all happy that he's in, but we know there's some other things that are required signing wise, or at least I believe that there is, right? I don't want to speak on behalf of the group. But I think before we get into our categories, I'm really just curious to hear from everybody, not only what is the one position. Let's say this, if we could sign one player and pick one player by the end of the window, not only what position is that, but more specifically, who's the player that you would bring in to feel that the squad was really shored up and ready to compete on 4 fronts. And yeah, Max, I'll start with you, man. Who's that one name that you would just adamantly want to see come in before the window shuts, and maybe a realistic name to you, right? Someone that we actually think we can bring in.
Yeah, probably. I think I gotta go with Jude Bellingham. No, I'm playing. Someone who's better than him, actually, Eberechi Eze. I know a lot of people want the right wing position. Eze doesn't play right wing, but what he does play is better than everyone else on the team. So he will be immediately in our first 11, and if we get him, I would be absolutely thrilled. Sorry, James Madison. I don't care. He's had a terrible preseason. As much as I love James Madison, if we got Eze, Madison isn't starting, and he can play in the Europa League. He can whine. He can get sold for all I care if we get Eze, because that is a top talent and a world-class player. That would really take us up a level, and we would be contending for major honors this season if we got that deal across the line.
Good shout. Alex, who do you got? Player or positions fine?
I think we really need a 6. I know Benson Kirk can play there, Archie Gray can play there, but I think like to really have a bang on starting 6 week in, week out, I'm not really sure what names are floating around the transfer market right now. I know like Amadou Onana just went to Aston Villa, great signing for them. But I think like if anything, I think the 6 is definitely our most iffy position. I can't really like give you a name right now that I'd love to see starting for 38 game weeks. So I think a 6, definitely with some like midfield defensive stability in there, should be our top target.
Yeah. Steve, what about you?
Yeah, I'm more along what Alex was talking about. Like I can't think of a specific player, but I think that defensive back end is like kind of like what we need to kind of focus on, just because we press always so high. It seems like certain teams just know how to get through that, and we need to kind of counterbalance it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. We were quite exposed last year on many occasions, and there were times where I believe Mickey Van de Ven saved us from conceding at least 10 times, and I'm very comfortable saying that if Van de Ven's not on the field, we ship 10 more goals than we did this season.
Right.
So yeah, I hear what both of you are saying. Keagan, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, Eze is unbelievable. He's my favorite player in the Prem outside of Spurs, but I really think we need a right winger. I think Brennan Johnson is a great player and a great squad player. I don't love his ability on the ball, actually. I think he's a good cross on him, but whenever he gets the ball, I feel a little bit like he's just going to pass it backwards, or not just something like exciting. I want to feel excited when he gets the ball. So a right winger that I had in mind is Johan Bakayoko. He's a PSV player. And I mean, obviously, I'm not an extensive scout, but if you watch that man's YouTube highlights, it's like when he's on the ball, it's like you're almost brought to tears. He shreds apart opposing left backs, and he's just so exciting on the ball. And I think that he would bring a lot to Spurs. He also has a great shot on him too. But a right wing, I think, should be our main priority heading towards the end of the window for sure.
And a left footer, I think. Specifically, if we were going for a right wing, I would prefer a left footer. I was just laughing because I know Scott is like the biggest Brennan Johnson fan I've ever met. So Scott never thinks we need a right wing. He just thinks we got Brennan.
Oh, we're good, man. But Brennan can play every minute. Don't worry about it. No,
for a step over, please, bro.
Hey, what did I say earlier? Our wings have to do one thing, and they have to do that one thing well, and that's get to the end line and put a low cross across the face of the goal. And if you can do that, and Postecoglou is interested in your services.
That mentality has us Timo Werner earning $350,000 a week when he's like 29, not going to play. So.
No, I laughed earlier too because I should have gone first because Eze would be my answer, and then Max said Eze, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm going to go with Bakayoko because I don't want to like say the same thing as Max. And now you said Bakayoko, so I'm not going to give an answer, and I'm just going to say that either one of those two coming in would be perfectly fine with me. And honestly, it's a bit of a cop-out, but at this point, I'm confident that anyone we're bringing in is very specific to the Ange system, and the Ange is green lighting these decisions, which is a nice change from what we've seen in the past. There was a time as a Spurs fan where I ran around my office celebrating signing Moussa Sissoko on deadline day. So we've come a long way as a club.
Respect Moussa.
Yeah, I love Moussa.
Yeah.
I've got a Mary Sissoko and t-shirt on. Like I rode that dude all the way to the end of his time at Spurs. Loved him. But I'm a little more excited about our recent signings than I actually I was probably more excited about him, but that just tells you how far we've come as a club that I expect better at this point. The last thing we want to talk about, and this is really the big juicy, meaty part of the preseason pod that we'll do every year here at Emerald, Lilywhite, and Seattle Spurs, and that's go through our predictions. And there's categories we want to go through. We're going to go one by one. We're all going to give an answer. We're not going to elaborate a ton on those answers because 13 times 5 adds up, right? And we don't want to keep people up all night. But yeah, I want to go through these categories and predict what we think is going to happen this season, and then we'll go back at the end of the season and we'll figure out who was right and who was wrong and who's better than the rest. That's what this is all about is competition, right? To see who knows all things Spurs. But no, of course, all well and fun and in the good-hearted spirit that is Seattle Spurs. But we do want to give some predictions, and I'm going to start with Max, and I'm going to start with Young Player of the Season. Max, who's your Young Player of the Season?
Yeah, so this is my favorite category to predict every year, just because I love the academy, I love the prospects, and I love thinking about the future because oftentimes the present isn't going our way. So my prediction is Lucas Bergvall. I think he starts against Leicester, and I think from the jump, he's going to be one of our most important players this season. He's been absolutely magical in preseason. Defense, attack. He's someone who can play in a fluid midfield, strong off and on the ball. And I just love the way he plays. So confident. Lucas Bergvall is my pick for Young Player this season. And I guarantee you that will be correct. So got to go with Lucas Bergvall.
We had to let Max cook. I know he was super excited to give his answer there. Alex, who you got?
I'm gonna keep it short. Like, obviously, Bergvall, I love the guy. He does look a little bit fragile, is the only thing. He has some knocks in preseason, but I think if he stays healthy, like 100%, Lucas Bergvall.
Love it, Steve.
Gonna go with Lucas Bergvall as well.
Yep. Yep.
Everybody else is elaborating pretty good, but yeah, I'm going with them. Just no,
I kind of expected that we would all be giving the same answer to this question. Not to tease on what mine is, right? But Keagan, who you got?
Mine's actually Destiny Udogie. I think obviously Lucas is amazing.
Okay.
I just think
respect.
When I think of Young Player season, I think I have a ton of faith in James Madison, and so I think that James Madison will stay in that role and have an awesome season. I'm counting on him returning to his best form. So that because of that, I'm going to go Destiny because I think Destiny has obviously he has the starting left back rolled down as his, and he just fits the system so perfectly, and he's just so fun to watch. And I think he's an excellent player. So I'm going to go Destiny.
Look, man, I love Destiny Udogie, but it sounds like you just feel like you would be betraying Madison if you said Bergvall. No, I'm just kidding. I think Udogie's a great shout. I really do. He's
I picked
fantastic.
him last year for this award.
And that's a good shout. Yeah. No, I think it's a great shout. I'm going with Bergvall too, and I just think he's silky and nasty and extremely confident on the ball. And yeah, I think he's gonna blow a lot of minds this season. So I'll keep it at that. But I'm going with Bergvall. I'm gonna reverse the order. Keagan, who you got for surprise of the season?
My surprise of the season is Jed Spence.
Okay.
I think he had an excellent preseason. I think he's playing with so much confidence right now. I think he's also he's had some mentality questions in the past, and I think he's put those to rest this preseason. He seems to, that Ange has said that he's working really hard, spending time after training on the pitch. So I think that he'll play a lot of games, especially in the Cups and in the Europa League, to give Pedro a rest. I think Pedro's amazing, but I think Jed will lock down that second right back spot, just like we used to have with Kieran and Kyle Walker.
Love it. I miss those days. Steve, who's your surprise of the season?
I'm gonna slightly different than Keegan's, but I won't say Pedro Porro is gonna be the surprise. I think he's consistently getting better and better, like just leaps and bounds. Like, he'll have one match that's, he flubs a bit, but overall he knows how to recover, and you just feel it. You feel like he's just ready to beat some ass. And every time he's out there, there's no doubt, there's no hesitation to what he does.
I love it. That's what I love about this question is there can be so many like different layers to it, right? Like you can define surprise in so many different ways. And I think Pedro Porro is a great shout. I think Yeah, like I said earlier, I think he's one of the best players in the league, and I think he's going to blow a lot of minds this year too. So I love that answer. Alex, who you got?
I had Bergvall, but I think after Young Player of the Season shouts, I don't think anybody would be surprised at this point. But
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with Will Langshear. Actually, I think if he stays with us, he could very well be like our second string striker. I mean, if Richarlison falls down the pecking order a little bit, if he wants a way out, I think this could be a big season for Will Langshear. I think he could put his name on the map a little bit. So,
love it. Yeah, Max, who you got?
Yeah, I love the Lancashire pick. I
Same.
think that's a great pick. And I got to go with my boy, Rodrigo Bentancur. That's my boy. Like, I just love the way he plays. He's just glorious on the ball. And he's locking down that 6 role. I mean, Yves is huffing opium, so Rodrigo can get playing time. So let's ride.
Oh, God. Well said. Yeah, I think those are all great shots. I'm going to not surprise anyone, and I'm going to say Brendan Johnson is going to be the surprise of the season. I think he's gonna have a lot of assists, and I think he's going to just really stand out. So I'm going to try not to elaborate as I've requested that of everyone else. Brendan Johnson for me for the surprise. Max, who's your disappointment?
Yeah, so my disappointment is Pop Sar. As much as it pains me to say, love the motor on the kid. Great season last year, great breakout season. We're just thick in that position. Like we have so many players that can play that role, and I think he might get lost in the shuffle, especially with 2 youngsters like Bergvall and Gray coming into those areas. It could be easy for him to kind of get lost in there, but I would love to be proven wrong. I love Popsar.
Yeah, hard to disagree with Alex. Who you got?
just to add on to that, I do have Papsar as well. I think obviously we saw he had a great pre-AFCON season. I think after he came back from AFCON, I think the performances definitely fell off a bit. I mean, whether it's just the amount of minutes he was playing or what. Like Max said, a lot of competition in that position. Bentancur just came off a pretty good Copa America. I know, he scored in the 3rd place match, I think, with Uruguay. So I think Rodrigo Bentancur, and we have to remember, only reason why Papsar was playing minutes last year is basically because Bentancur was still out most of the season. So I think especially with Bentancur healthy, I think a lot more players in that position, Papsar might be struggling a little bit.
Yeah, Steve, what about you?
This one, it was tough for me to figure out who could be that. I don't want to say the disappointing, because I think there's people. I think for me, maybe it's just the way my mind works. It's like guys trying to fit into the system. Like Skip. I mean, he's not a disappointment. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like there's inconsistency in what he was doing the past season. So I hope he could turn around this season, but it just felt like, I don't know. Again, it's like, I'm disappointed. I think they're all tops, but it's just, I don't know.
No, I hear you. I think it's going to be an important year for Skip, make or break situation. I think there's a chance he doesn't even end up at the club, by the end of the window. I think, which would be super disappointing for sure if we're using the word right. But I think I expected more from him too. So, Keagan, what about you?
Yeah, I have an interesting one. I said Vicario. I think I've seen some frailties just in his playing out the back, especially in the Bayern Munich games, as well as his ability to deal with set pieces. So I really hope he proves me wrong again. I love Vicario. I think he was excellent. He's an excellent shot stopper, but I think we needed to pump the brakes a little bit on him being the next Hugo Lloris. I
love that choice. That's a great choice.
Yeah, we were both a little bit irritated with his lack of ability to get the ball out of the back yesterday in that friendly against Bayern, Max and I. Yeah, good shot. This feels too easy, but I'm just going to go with Bissouma, and that's because of what just happened. So way too easy, but I think I don't know. I'm not saying I think it's going to fizzle out with Bissouma, but maybe it does. So I don't know. I just don't. I don't think. maybe what I'm saying is by the time he gets back from this whole deal and
His
and
trip?
maybe some of yes.
Extended vacation.
When he gets back from his
sabbatical. He's on sabbatical.
When Bissouma gets back from his sabbatical, we'll say that there's a chance that maybe an Archie Gray or Bentancur has taken some of those minutes that he wouldn't have expected. So I'll go with Bissouma. Next category, super fun one, maybe the best one, is top scorer. And I'm going to mix it up. And Alex, I'm going to start with you.
Got to be Dominic Solanke. That's
Yeah.
all, bro. I mean,
Yep.
it just has to be him. It has to be him. Like, better service, better team. Like, coming off 19-goal season, he's gonna be our starting 9. You know, I have my hopes are so high for him, genuinely. So.
Yeah, I love it. I hope so much that you're right. Keagan, who you got?
Gonna echo it, and I'm calling his first goal, headed goal off a corner in the 82nd minute next week.
All right, write it down.
Are we winning
Let's go.
at that point?
Let's go.
Because that would be slightly concerning if it was.
We're already winning. We're already winning.
Okay, thank God.
To bring us within 1.
Cut the lead to 4-1.
Max, who's your top scorer?
It's do we have the Naruto music on the soundboard? Because it's Dom Solanke. Welcome to the lane. I'm beyond pumped for him to play for Tottenham.
Yep, love it. Steve,
and I switched it from Sonny the second he signed. So
okay, fair enough. Yeah, good shout. Steve, who you got?
I was gonna say Sonny, but I think Madison might turn around. I'm predicting. Because seriously, because there's moments where he wants to get to it, but I think just the way he's positioned sometimes just doesn't let him shine. And I mean, I'm saying a very 30,000 feet view. I can't get into the specific tactics he's doing, but it's there. He's just got to find that right moment. I'm not saying he needs a perfect serve to him, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's something has to be like, it's there. It's coming. It's just like it hasn't unlocked yet.
I love that shout. I think that's definitely a shout that could be, if it happens, people like, damn, this guy knows ball, because there's a good chance that he puts the ball in the back of the net quite often this season. We saw it briefly from him before his injury, right? I think he was right there with neck and neck with Sonny and goals scored and was involved in almost everything for those first 9 games. Yep. So yeah, it's a great shout.
Yeah, just kind of. I'm sorry, just time back. You know how we're talking about Carlson and the other guy. I'm back on here. Sorry. It creates a healthy competition, so both get elevated in that process. And you're exactly what you said there, Scott. Like the injury just totally knocked him off his momentum. So I'm hoping maybe, but yeah, if Sonny gets it, I'm not going to be upset, and I'll prove myself wrong. That's fine
for sure. Right. Maybe all 3 of them can get to like 15 plus goals or something.
That's
like
fine.
That. We'd be really cooking.
We win the league.
I'd take it.
Yeah, exactly right. I think that leaves me, and it's Brendan Johnson. No, I'm just kidding. It's not Brendan Johnson. It is Solanke for me as well. And the only thing I'll say is because it has to be Solanke. If we have ambitions to do things this season, then one of our number 9 needs to be leading the team in goals, with Sonny right there, sprinkling behind, right? So yeah, I'll say Solanke. Top assister is the next category. Keagan, I'm going to start with you. Who leads the team in assists at the end of the season?
Yeah, definitely Madison, I think. I think there's going to be like 4 or 5 games where we're like, he had an okay game, then you look at the score sheet and he assisted 2 goals, I just think he's the hub of everything good that we do when he's on his game, and I think he will be on his game. So I'm going Madison.
Cool. Steve, what about you?
I'm going to say T-Bone Werner.
Let's go.
No,
yeah.
I love it.
Seriously.
I love it.
Because
you must
he's seriously, because like he's got it. I mean, it's there. I think it's just this past season was just kind of figure out how to work him in, and now I think he'll do it.
I love that shout because our wingers are designed to get assists. I'm telling you guys, these wings are very simple. But yeah, I love it. Alex, what about you?
Top assist, I gotta go with your guy. Gotta go with Brendan Johnson. Actually, I think
Oh,
especially if no wingers come in. He's going to be our starting right wing, and I think he's a great crosser, questionable finisher, but when he gets the ball in there, like I love seeing him whip it in low. I feel like that's definitely his signature. Anything higher than waist height goes out for a throw in. Could definitely be Brennan Johnson. Yeah.
let's go. Especially with Solanke, I'm telling you. Max, what about you, man?
Yeah, so this is the one where I decided to get a little frisky. I'm going Sonny for top assists.
Okay.
Mm.
Because like you said, our assists are going to come from the wings, and with the unknown like transfers and right wing being a target, I'm just going to go with the winger that I know is playing the most minutes, and that's going to be Sonny. And definitely won't be Timo Werner. I'm going to have
Okay. So this is a data-driven decision, is what you're saying, right?
It's data driven.
Fair enough.
Sneaky amount of assists he had last year. I think he almost had double digits, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he did. I think he 9 assists. Yeah, I love all these shouts. I honestly wouldn't disagree or push back on any of them. But I'm going with Brennan Johnson for the same reason that Alex talked about and we've all talked about. The wings are going to feed the ball. And I think Brennan Johnson gets behind that fullback to the end line so well. It's weird almost the way that we just are tactically designed for these wings to just find space in between the end line and the fullback and score the ball. So it's simple, but I'm saying Brennan Johnson. I think he's going to turn a lot of heads around this season. All right, best signing. This is another fun one. I was almost going to start with myself, and you know what? I'm going to start with myself. I'm going to just do this one time, and I'm going to do this with best signing. As much as I want to say Lucas Bergvall because it'd be so much fun, I'm just going to go with Solanke because if I'm asking for him to lead the team in goals, then I guess it obviously if the new guy leads the team in goals, then he's probably the signing of the season. So I'm going to go with Solanke. Max, what do you got?
Yeah, I have him as well.
Yeah.
The second he signed, changed it from Bergvall to Solanke. Was tempted to go TBD just in case Eze walks in the door. So.
Oh, fair. Okay. Maybe a few pod edits. Alex, who you got?
Solanke, 100%.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yep. Steve?
Ride the wave, Solanke.
Yep. Keagan?
Keep it coming. Solanke.
Let's go.
Clean sweep.
All right. Yep. That would be a wonderful thing if that happens, right? Then Spurs are doing the right thing and we're winning games. And we can pause on him for just a second. I'm so excited. I think he's exactly what we need. And I haven't been this excited in a while for a signing. So Solanke across the board, well deserved. All right, league position. Here's where it gets a little dicey and things start to compress a little bit, right? Squeaky bum time, as they say over there on the other side of the pond. Keagan, I'll start with you, man. And I hate to do that to you because it's always tough to give this type of prediction as a Spurs fan. But where do we finish in the Premier League?
Yeah, I mean, I have a reasoning for this take. I think that we're going to finish 6th.
Okay.
I think that there's that 1, 2, and 3 are pretty locked with Arsenal and City and Liverpool. I think it's going to be a massive race for 4th. And I think coming down the stretch, I think we're going to focus on Europe. And we'll be in that race for 4th. I think we'll just shuffle down to 6th. And I think that Spurs fans at the end of the season will actually not be mad about that because I think that we'll win other things. I'll leave it at that.
No, and I'm glad you elaborated because I think I should have said I think this is a category where I think we've got time for a little bit of elaboration, and I think it's helpful, right? As we explain, why we feel the way we do about this one. So yeah, all good. Steve, what do you got?
Man, I'm a little bit more optimistic. I think 4th is probably the more realistic. I mean, it's within reach if all goes well. Like things start locking in because I think we were just inundated with so many injuries. I think it goes back to that Chelsea game where like we were so aggressive. Like that's like the peak of how well we can play, but we were not good at reining it in. But now I think we have that little bit of that balance. But it depends. I mean, 5th it's probably realistically where I'm looking at. I think 5th is where we probably end up, but 4th is, I think, attainable.
Cool. Yeah, I don't disagree. Alex, what about you?
I think we're gonna get finished 5th. I think our biggest competitor, like if you look like last season, Aston Villa, I think they've had a much better window than us. They got Ian Matson, Amadou, Onana in the door. So I think they've definitely strengthened more than us. I think it's gonna be another like type of growing pains type of season, just like last year. I can't really see us finishing top 4. I just think we don't have enough signings, impactful signings, really. We do have Europa League this year, which we didn't have last year. And also last year, we exited the Cups like super early. So I think if we're going to make a deep run, we're probably going to be a little light in the Premier League. So I think about 5th, yeah.
Yeah, it's a reasonable take for sure. Max, what about you?
Yeah, I was finishing 3rd. I think we're having a ball this season. And to me, it's not so much that we improved, although we did. I did bump this up after a recent signing. But I just think that like Liverpool doesn't have Jurgen Klopp. Like,
Yep.
that's
what I
a
was about to say.
huge
Yeah.
factor. To me, at least, I really value like what he brought to the club, and we have no idea what they're going to look like. They kind of remind me of what we had last year. Obviously, a bit better team, but yeah, they don't have Klopp. I think we're better than Chelsea. They have a new manager. They're a disaster of a football club. United
like
sucks. Villa is going to have Champions League football. We saw how that worked for Newcastle. Newcastle sucks. And Arsenal sucks. And City is really good. But yeah, I have us finishing 3rd.
I like it. I also have us finishing 3rd. So I'm glad that someone else did. I'm glad no one said 1st. I'll say that too. But no, I think that
someone said 1st, is that laughing gas being passed around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Bissouma thinks we're winning the league for sure.
Yeah, Bissouma's off screen if anybody says 1st.
I'm bumping mine up to 3rd. Eze puts us over the top. We win the league with Eze.
Hey, I don't hate someone saying that.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
But yeah, I also think 3rd. I do think, unfortunately, I know what I'm about to say and I know how it sounds, but I think Arsenal and City are just on a little bit different of a level than Spurs are right now, and so I expect them to be competing at the top of the table, and hopefully not forever, right? But I think 3rd is, I think we're capable of getting 3rd, and I primarily say that because we know the club's ambition is to get 4th and all of that, but I do believe that I almost said Pochettino. I cannot tell you how many times I do that, but I do believe that Postecoglou is determined to win the league, and because of that, he's going to push us as close as he can to the top. And I just think Arsenal and City are too strong. But I think if we finish 3rd, it's just an absolutely phenomenal season, and it'll be something that we could really build off of. 4th would be fine with me as well. 5th also, right? I think at this point we all know that we're building something more long term, but I believe that we're going to get 3rd place. So I'll hope for the best. Let's talk about the cups then, Max. I'll start with you. FA Cup. What are the prospects of us winning it, or if not, where do we end up falling out?
Wait, can we go player of the season first? Sorry.
Yeah. Are we gonna do player of the season or?
Oh yeah, do we not do player of the season?
We did. We just. I think player of the season.
Skipped over that.
Yeah,
that was on the list before league position, and I missed it. All right, thank you. So yeah, before FA Cup prospects, let's get into player of the season. That is also one of the most exciting ones, and a horrible one for me to have grazed over. And Alex, because you caught me, I'm going to start with you, man. Who's your player of the season?
I'm gonna go with Christian Romero, best center back in the world. Coming off a Copa America win, low key, I thought he was robbed of player of the season last year. I thought he deserved it, honestly. I mean, I'm not mad that Son won it, but I do think that Christian Romero was a name that should have been tossed in there a little bit. So I just think that this could be his last season, honestly. I know like Real Madrid is sniffing around a little bit. Brings a tear to my eye, but I mean, with the Real Madrid PR, like he's definitely going to start getting actual center back, best center back in the world shouts. So I think like he might have that extra motivation to win us something before he leaves.
I love it. Steve, what about you?
Oh man, this is a tough one. I
It is.
like, you know, damn it, I don't know. All right, I'm just looking at the list real quick again because I keep changing my mind. I mean, the easiest one I could say is probably Son, but that's like kind of like. But in terms of somebody else, Romero, I want to, but it's just he burns too hot sometimes, and sometimes he causes a lot of hiccups that he's aggressive, which is fantastic, but then that draws in the negative aspects of playing. But I'm gonna have to say Suns. I'm just gonna go traditional. Say Suns.
Let's go,
Can't
man.
go wrong.
Yeah, no doubt. He's in all of our hearts embedded, and a phenomenal player, and every reason to think that could be the case. All right, so you're going Son. Keagan, what about you?
I'm gonna go with Dominic Solanke for our player of the season.
Let's go.
I think that he's gonna score 20 plus goals for us, and I think when you do that as a new signing, like the PR and the fan love is gonna put him over the top, and he's gonna win player of the season for us.
Let's go. 20 goals. You heard it here, folks. I love it. Max, what about you?
Yeah, it's Romero. He's the one player in the squad for me that's genuinely like one of the best players in the world. And I feel completely comfortable saying that. And I feel comfortable saying that he'll be at Spurs for at least another couple of years and that he'll win something here. And shout out to Mickey Van de Ven because I was also considering him. I was really going back and forth between those two. So fantastic players.
Yeah, it's a super good problem to have when you have your two center backs potentially competing for who is closest to like top 5 center back in the world or even top 3. I really think Romero is top 3. All right, so as much as I want to say Romero, everyone's gone besides me, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just after my last host fumble, I just double and triple check here. But I want to say Romero. I also want to say Van de Ven. But I'm going to go a little bit out of left field here and say Pedro Porro, which I don't think is like super crazy. But I think that his growth in his ability to defend and win tackles deep is just it's night and day since he came to Spurs, in my opinion. I think he's developed and progressed the most of anyone under Ange Postecoglou. Maybe Romero too, but I think Romero was already that good, right? So I'm just super stoked with what I've seen from Pedro Porro. I also think that with as well as he's getting forward and connecting with Johnson, I do expect quite a handful of assists from Pedro Porro this year too. And I think if he could honestly get close to double-digit assists. And if you do that as a fullback, then I think you're within a shout of player of the season. So I'm going to go Pedro Porro.
Do you guys think does his consent? I know Steve is a huge fan of his.
Yeah.
Does his good defending not concern you guys at all? I think more of his off the ball defending is like what holds me back from really like putting him on that pedestal.
See, for me, if you guys don't mind me starting, I think Max, that's the point. I think that's why I like about it because he does a lot of unorthodox aspects into it. He knows how to rein in and he takes that risk. And to me, that's like what you need in a really smart defender. He's got the physicality, he's got the speed, but he's got that. I think a lot of times we lack. I mean, obviously Van de Ven has that. He's super fast and very precise. But but Pedro Porro's got that just I don't know. There's that physicality just comes like a steam train coming through. But he's so I don't know. Without I don't have like old clips to take a look at and remember offhand, but I think that's why I like it. But like when he first started, it was just like he just comes out, but now he's refined it, but not losing that momentum, and I think that's why it sets him as a potential player of the year.
Max, can I respond to that really quick?
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you. I think as you saw in the last Bayern game, like back post defending is a really big issue for us, and so is set piece defending. And I think that he definitely is a bit of a liability in those. I definitely think that he makes up for it in his attacking prowess and his ability to pass and play out of the back. He is constantly picking the pass that relieves pressure from a press. But I agree. I think that he definitely needs to work on just checking his shoulder constantly and being more physical, like in defending corners and set pieces.
Yeah, and for me,
Very
like
true.
the thing about Poro, like I love Poro. He had such a good season last year, but when I just go off like how I feel about our back line, like the other three, I'm like, I don't know if we could get someone better than these guys. Like I don't even know if there's someone in the league better than any of these guys. And Poro is someone where I feel like there's a handful of right backs, especially in the modern game, at least, that I would maybe prefer and are more well-rounded. But that's not to say I don't. I love Poro, and I think he should play every minute he can for us this season.
Well, minutes are a big part of why I'm comfortable giving that, a bit of a hot take and saying Poro too, is he was second in the team in minutes last year after Vicario. I believe, it might be third, but I believe it was second on the team in minutes behind Vicario's. Yeah, so he's going to play a lot, and trust him tremendously. I do think there is a little bit of concern around his off-ball defending. Like you said, I think his on-ball defending has been tremendous, especially in the second half of the season. I think Udogi's a bit stronger in defense, but I think Poro is stronger in the attacking third without a doubt. And so, not that I.
But is that, there's a question to that, like the defending. You guys are talking about where he's weak on. I think is that something that can be trained all around, but it feels like that's Spurs' problem all around.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's something to that for sure.
The set pieces. Like
set pieces, thank you. I'm totally
such an issue, and then when you look at like who would like we had Dragusin in the wall for set pieces, like why is that guy in the wall? Like
right,
like put him in the box. And the underrated part is that it's since Kane left, and Kane was a huge part of defending set pieces for us. He would get his head on like every corner. And I think Solanke is going to really help us out with that. It's an underrated part of having like a tall striker there that can help defend.
Yeah, if I had one gripe with Postecoglou and one and only gripe with Postecoglou, it's that he didn't seem to be terribly fussed about the lack of efficiency in and among set pieces of all kinds last year. So I don't know. I think we got to tighten up big time. I miss Giovanni. What is it, Giovanni Vio? That was our set piece coach, I believe. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's the coach for USA now. USA.
It is. He is U.S. men and U.S. women. He's a set piece coach.
Yep.
So yeah, good job, Spurs. All right. Well, now that we've gotten our player of the season, and I still can't believe I just brushed past the big one, but FA Cup prospects, and I'll start with you, Max. What's our hopes of winning an FA Cup, and if not, where do we fall out?
Yeah. So for me, I think this is definitely, out of the two domestic cups, the one that we should go.
And you know what? Let's talk about both. Let's talk about both, FA and League Cup. So what are your prospects for both of those?
Yeah. So I think FA is the one that we should really be going for, mostly because of the history, especially with Spurs, one of our most successful competitions. I don't think we get it done this year, mostly because there is a Man City in the tournament. And but I think we could make a run, semifinals, maybe make the final. And then Carabao, I kind of hope we bow out like round of 16, quarterfinal, because the semifinals that are 2 legs are brutal. And I just don't want to have to deal. Like, if we're out of like the FA Cup and it's not looking good, of course I would love a trophy. But if we do have fixture congestion, Europa League, whatever it may be, having 2 legs in a semifinal for a domestic cup, it's a lot of playing. So I think maybe like round of 16, quarterfinal loss for Carabao.
Yep. Alex, what about you?
I do have to agree with everything Max said. I mean, I'm not. I feel like in the past I haven't like really focused on the cups. I mean, obviously I love if we win it, but I know like we bowed out early last year. Always like, I think recently FA Cup we've like struggled a little bit, especially like, do you play your full strength team? Do you not? And then obviously hindsight hits you like, oh, we should have played. Like, even against Fulham last year. I think that might have been Carabao Cup though. It's like, do you play your strongest team? Do you not? It's just always hard to balance, and it's just, hard to decide what to do, you know. So I'd love if we won it. I'd rather we win the FA Cup than Carabao Cup. Carabao Cup's a little bit tin pot, but
Yeah.
anything we get at this point, you know, I'll take it. So
Yep. Yeah. Well said, Steve.
Yeah, my dream is always for us to win the FA Cup. I just like the history of it. I like how it just pulls like the underdog from all over the UK, and I think it's something it's always been in our grasp to win it or get close to being that final. And I just don't understand why we just never pursued it. I don't know if it's a money thing. There's not deep financial impact benefit from it, but League Cup I could care less. Ciabatta. We jokingly at the Wits call it the Ciabatta Cup. Just because it's like, if you see my posts, we always call it Ciabatta because it's changed so many damn names on it through. But I think, how serious we take it. Also, now that we have Europa coming through too, so that might be the more focus is on that because that might be something. That's where Ange just in my mind, his forte is in that type of competition, and he's better suited for that.
Let's go. I love it. Keagan, what about you?
Yeah, I think the FA Cup is so hard to predict because like Man United didn't face a single Premier League side until like the semifinal or until the finals.
Yeah,
they faced Coventry in the semifinal.
A lot of luck.
And they should have lost.
They absolutely should have won.
That's true. That's the truth. Yeah,
it's so lucky. And we faced City in like the second or third round. It's so hard to predict. But I agree. I think that we're not gonna win one just because I think we have struggled a lot in the past and. I have a bad taste in my mouth from the FA Cup just in the past 3 or 4 years. I know we have a lot of history in it, but I don't think that we will. But I think that we can make a deep run in one of them.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with any of you guys. I think the League Cup is absolutely whatever. Could care less if we end up out of it fairly quickly. And I think what probably happens is starts a really young rotated side and they find themselves in trouble in like the 70th, and we try to fix it and we can't, and we're knocked out of the cup. But the FA Cup, I don't think we win it, but I expect a deep run. I really do. I expect us to give it a go. I think we need to. But no, I don't think we win it. And if I had to make a prediction, I'd say we fall out in the quarters, maybe the semis. But the quarters is where I'd put my money, unfortunately. And that leaves one more competition, and I think it's actually kind of a fun one, and that's the Europa League. We're back in Europe. Spurs, after a year in which they were locked in the UK and not allowed to leave, they can leave again to play their football. So we're excited that, not Champions League, but Europa League football. And I'll start with you, Keagan. What do you think our prospects of winning the Europa League are? And if not, where do we fall out?
Yeah, I predict that we're going to win the Europa League, and that's why I have us finishing
Come on.
Yep, come on.
Let's go.
I think that we're going to win it, and that's why I think that we will finish 6th. I think there's a lot of teams that are in and around that top 5, and I think that we're going to prioritize the Europa League. I don't think that there's a ton of quality in the Europa League this year, and because of the new rule change where Champions League sides don't drop down from the Champions League into the Europa League, I think that
it's big.
I think that we're going to be like one of the favorites, and I think that we do it. I think that we go all in coming down the stretch, and I think we'll win it.
All right, then I'll follow up with a question for you because of your confidence. Would you take winning the Europa League if it means we get relegated?
Oh my gosh!
Yep.
I'd take winning the Champions League to get relegated. That would be so embarrassing to.
Yeah.
Championship.
Think about it.
Champions League.
We would be in the Champions League and the championship, so we could focus only on the Champions League and then win that.
That would give Levy a heart attack. Oh my god, he was just like, holy crap.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no to that. No, I would not.
Okay, but
I don't.
We're all taking finishing 17th and winning Europa League, though, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we come down to 10th.
Okay. All right.
We'd be down to 10th.
Right.
That's my
Okay.
take.
That's what West Ham did 2 years ago.
Yeah. 10th in the Europa League would be a fine.
Chelsea
season.
got
No. Sorry. Like, no, we would finish top in Europa. But I'm saying, but for the regular season, we'd be like,
oh yeah, for sure. I agree. Yeah,
if we
would impact.
If we had all our eggs in a basket for Europa, I think we could easily get top. Win it. Hell. but like
Mhm.
it comes with a price. I don't think we have enough depth and bam to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. It's strenuous to do it all, and I know Keagan, you mentioned 6, and I think that's reasonable for sure. Anywhere through 10th would be fine with me. Like I said, even you give me 17th place in the Europa League, and I'm super happy.
Because if you think about Arsenal, remember, like they were down 10th in Premier League, and then look where they are now because they didn't have all these
Good
other
call.
distractions. So that's the reason why too. So we might as well, if we're in it, let's try to go for it, win something, and for Champions League because of it, great.
Yeah, let's go. But yeah, well then I'll just stick with you then and get back to before I derail us with should we get relegated or not. Go back to the question at hand, and it sounds like the answer is that you think we could, but do you think we could win the Europa League then?
To me, is the question?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh yeah.
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I think it's for I've talked to other people too. It's like I feel like Europa is a better fit for Ange's skill set and what he brings is from a coaching standpoint. But that's the thing. I kind of now going backpedaling with what I said earlier, us getting 4th place. But that's real. If we're kind of at this point, we need to focus on one or the other. But that means all the other cups go to the side too, because you remember, literally, I was just talking to a friend of mine yesterday about how when Pochettino on our run in Champions League, we're getting further, but our Premier League level was like dropping down really hard.
Big time.
And the way just Pochettino was, just like all of his eggs in the basket. Will Levy provide the funding and additional players in January to get to that point? I don't know. That's history is a good precedent for that.
Yeah, for sure. No, good shot. The Pochettino, those were tough times, man. And then he got sacked, and I don't want to cry. So
sorry, man. Sorry.
Alex, what about you? You think you've got a shot at winning Europa?
I think we always have a chance of winning it. It's just, are we going to? But like, I hope so. Like if there's one thing Tottenham loves to do, it's underperform against teams that we should be beating 5-0. So
it's always a toss in jail.
Yeah,
and those kind of things.
Dynamo's Zagreb game literally gives me nightmares. But anyways, I think we could win it, especially with the rule changes, like Keagan said. But yeah, I do. Obviously, I hope we win it. So
yeah, let's go, Max.
Yeah, so I can't just say that we're gonna lose the Carabao and the FA Cup and end the season preview on that, because just hearing us talk about how we just fall short every year just made me really depressed. Which is why we're winning the Europa League this year.
Come on, baby.
Let's do it, baby.
Let's go, man. Let's go.
Let's go.
Well, everything Keagan said, we are the best team in the competition. I am 100% sure of that now.
I agree.
We are the best team in the competition. And if the players believe, and I know Ange believes, that we can win something soon, now, in this season, I believe in Ange and I believe in the squad right now to do it, especially against inferior competition. So I got us lifting a trophy for the 3rd time, while Arsenal has 0 European honors.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
God, Sonny lifting a trophy, man. What a wonderful thing that would be. And then it's not Kane, and that makes it even so much better. God, I love Son. But yeah, let's go. I'm right there with you guys. I think we're winning the Europa League. I think I'm thinking about Ange's video that we've all seen where he's coaching Australia and he's just lighting people up in the locker room and ripping heads off and chewing them up and spitting them out. And I think he's going to have a similar conversation with his team about how we're absolutely going to win that competition. And if we don't, everyone's contract is terminated. And if you're not interested in believing, then get out. Is the conversation he's having. So yeah, let's go win the Europa League. I love it. I really do think that it's not in jest, right? This is not satire. We all believe that we can go and win the Europa League. And then from there, who knows, right? But it's going to have to start at this club with winning something of note. And I don't really always think that's a League Cup. I do think an FA Cup for sure accomplishes what we need to propel ourselves forward as a club, but that Europa League would be juicy.
And I think like what Steve was alluding to earlier, about Ange's style is that like the FA Cup and the Carabao for the earlier stages, it's like it's one game and done.
Yeah.
And we've seen Ange have those games where our team plays really poorly in a game and it just gets tossed out. But when we get to those 2-leg ties and how like attacking we are and how good we are, and getting back into games, we even saw that last year. I think that's a really, really beneficial for our team in the way it's constructed.
Yep. Well said. Let's go. Y'all heard it here first at Emerald Lilywhite of Seattle Spurs. Tottenham will win the Europa League. Maybe you could win some other stuff, but we'll see. But we're going to go win the Europa League. It's going to be a wonderful season. We've covered a lot, right? But we're glad to be able to do it. And as we said earlier, this is the official season, 2024-25 season preview for Emerald Lilywhite and Seattle Spurs. Folks can expect much more of this type of content throughout the season. We wouldn't be a proper YouTube channel if we didn't ask you to like and subscribe. So we will go ahead and ask the folks to like and subscribe to the channel, like and subscribe or whatever it's called to everyone's socials that we covered earlier in the show. And most importantly, if you're in Seattle, even if you're not and you're a Spurs fan, we want to know you. We want to meet you. It's a wonderful time to get people involved. We don't have a club yet. Just bring them to the Wits End, bring them to Cascades, get them to fall in love with all things that are Tottenham. I think it's important to point out we have our own homes that we don't share with other clubs, right? And that's really important because it gives us an opportunity to really grow as a community that is Seattle Spurs. And not that we turn our nose up at fans of other clubs. That's not the point of any of that. It's Seattle Spurs, but
Except Arsenal.
we're here. Yeah, oh, for sure. Don't ever bring your friend with an Arsenal kid on to either
And
one.
Chelsea. And West Ham. Yeah. Especially
For sure. I might be able to like maybe West Ham if you buy everyone a beer, but I see no Arsenal kids. That's the rules in Seattle. And we're not going to like fight you or anything. We're nice in Seattle, but we're just not going to have a good time.
We'll just give you a steak guy.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you'll lose to Spurs, but
right.
But don't bring your Arsenal and Chelsea fans. Otherwise, we will want everyone at both Cascades and the Wits End, depending on where you're at in the sound. But like I was saying, it's time to grow the community. So if you got friends and family who like soccer but don't have a club, get them down to one of the bars, and we'll make sure they're Spurs fans for life. And then Steve, I want to give you the last word. If there's anything you want to close with, like I said earlier, you are the brains and the brawn of all of this. And what do you want to say to the listeners before we wrap?
Just like like I said before, like we watch at Wits End and Cascades, we put match viewing postings up on Facebook and Twitter, X, whatever that platform is called, when it decides to call it. But time permitting. But we'd love to see people there. Both locations are great, and pick the one that's closest to you and come on out. We hope to see you this season.
Yep, love it. Awesome. Well, for Max, for Alex, for Keagan, for Steve, for myself, for all of Emerald Lilywhite, all of Seattle Spurs, and all of the Spurs fans in Seattle, we've been Emerald and Lilywhite. It's been an awesome season preview. Make sure you tune in throughout the season and at the end of the season as we do our postseason recap after we've lifted the Europa League. But like we said earlier, like and subscribe. Keep your eyes peeled for all kinds of content. We'll be doing live shows as soon as we get some stuff worked out with old Elon. Some technical difficulties, but we'll be doing some live shows. We'll be doing previews, reviews, opinions, and then of course we will have our blog going this season too. Keagan, you've been a part of that. Max has been a part of that. I've written some stuff. So if you're interested in writing, definitely reach out, right? We're looking for more people who are interested in writing one short 250 to 500 page little article per week about Tottenham. We'd love to have you, but keep your eyes peeled for the blog, for the YouTube channel. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Why Spurs?
You Spurs.